Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into a really arresting story. It starts out like something you'd expect,
Huh?
killer whale show. A packed stadium cheers, this feeling of like pure magic almost.
Right, that initial spectacle that draws everyone in.
Exactly. But then our sources show how it just flips in seconds.
Yeah.
Joy turning to absolute horror really fast. So our mission here is to unpack this specific incident. It involves a whale named Nakai and his trainer, Jessica Hale.
Mhm.
We'll explore the warning signs that were missed, tragically, and look at the bigger implications this has for orcas kept in parks like this.
And what's really key, I think, from the sources, we're not just looking at what happened, the sequence of events, although that's important. We're digging into why experts think it happened.
Right, the underlying causes.
Exactly. It really forces us to think about the relationship, the dynamics between us humans and these incredibly smart, powerful wild animals, particularly when they're, well, not in the wild.
Okay, let's set the scene then. Our sources paint a really vivid picture. It's a typical afternoon at one of these marine parks. Sun's out, water sparkling. Nakai, this big male killer whale, comes out. The crowd goes wild.
Yeah, the energy is high.
Totally. And he's soaring, doing these incredible leaps, apparently responding to every signal from his trainer, Jessica Hale. Now, she wasn't new to this. Over a decade of
A
experience,
real veteran.
known for being graceful, calm, and having this, seemingly deep connection with the animals. For the audience, it looked like pure magic. For Jessica, it was routine.
And that idea of routine is so important here, isn't it? Because, well, from the stands, it looks effortless, smooth.
Mhm.
But the sources really underline the inherent risks involved, constant risks, especially with animals of this intelligence and power. So the question becomes, what happens when that routine gets disrupted, even slightly?
Well, that's the thing. The sources reveal that for Jessica, that day, the routine was already breaking down. Hours before that show, she actually told a coworker something felt off.
Really, she voiced it beforehand.
Yeah. Quietly. Said something like, Nakai's not responding like usual, Sigvoste.
Yeah.
And the sources list specific things she noticed. He was restless, really agitated,
Oh.
ignoring signals he'd normally follow without issue, swimming in these tight, unusual circles, and actively avoiding eye contact with her.
Wow. Those are pretty clear signs of distress or agitation in an animal like an orca. What's striking, though, as the sources point out, is that these cues were seen, they were noted by someone with her experience.
Right.
But the show still started. It went ahead because, well, as the source puts it always does.
That momentum you mentioned.
Exactly, a kind of institutional inertia, maybe. The expectation is just so strong, perhaps it overrides that immediate caution.
And this is where it gets really ominous. Jessica's earlier feelings, those specific behaviors she saw, despite all that, the music starts, the crowd's roaring, she takes her position by the pool, but the way the accounts describe it is chilling. It's like Nakai wasn't performing anymore. He was preparing for something else. Then the attack happened. Just sudden, violent, utterly terrifying. Nakai just surged, this massive body slicing through the water so fast.
Incredible speed and power.
Jessica barely had a moment. He launched himself out of the pool, jaws wide open, and clamped down hard on her arm. The sound, just screams erupting everywhere in the stadium.
Oh, I can only imagine. Chaos.
Total chaos. Parents grabbing their kids, trainers scrambling, rushing to the edge. And Jessica, oh, she was dragged underwater, right there, in front of thousands of people, horrified. Then the emergency protocols kicked in. Immediately, divers jumped in using these distraction tools. The sources mentioned high-frequency sonic things.
Yes, acoustic deterrent devices, sometimes called pingers. And also weighted nets, things to break the focus.
Others were banging on the underwater gates, throwing bait fish. Anything to make Nakai let go. Part of their emergency training, apparently.
Forced release protocols, yeah. Trying to trigger a trained response, even in that extreme situation.
But it took time. She was trapped in his jaws for what the sources say was a harrowing 3 minutes.
3 minutes, that's an eternity in that situation.
When they finally got her free and pulled her out, she was in terrible shape. Battered, crushed bones, massive blood loss, barely alive. They rushed her out, and the stadium just emptied, in silence. Just this profound, heavy silence.
The aftermath, as you'd expect, was just devastating for everyone involved. Jessica survived, thankfully, but her career as a trainer was finished.
Understandable.
And the sources really emphasized that the emotional trauma, the scars, ran much deeper than the physical injuries, which were already severe. As for Nakai, he was moved, sent to a different facility. His future became, well, uncertain.
And the expert analysis, what did they conclude?
The consensus reported at our sources is that this wasn't just some random, unpredictable lashing out. It was attributed largely to stress, frustration, years of confinement for a hyper-intelligent animal. Exactly. Finally unleashed. Some statement points directly to what they identify as the real tragedy.
Which is,
That wild animals, particularly predators with this level of intelligence and social complexity, they just don't belong in concrete tanks. It's fundamentally incompatible with their nature. It really pushes us to ask some hard questions about our own ethics, doesn't it? Our responsibilities when we confine wild creatures for entertainment.
absolutely. And I think the ultimate takeaway, the final message from our sources, is just so stark and clear. And no show is ever worth a life.
Hmm. Hmm. So for you listening, maybe think about this. What does this story, this tragedy with Nakai and Jessica and everything else we know about orcas in captivity, what does it tell us about the lines we should draw? Where should the boundaries be when we interact with the wild world, especially for our own entertainment?
Yeah. And what's the actual cost? Not just financial, but the ethical cost, the animal welfare cost, when spectacle takes priority over the fundamental nature of a living being.